Funding for this program was provided by the Minerva Nolte estate.
People are getting water in their home.
No queremos quitarle el trabajo a los norteamericanos, nada de eso.
We need gender equality and we need this reflected in national priorities.
In India, millions of city residents don't have running water in their homes.
पूरा दिन हमारा पानी भरने में जाता था.
In West Virginia, drinking water is threatened by chemical spills, mining, and hydraulic fracking wells.
This is my water from this morning.
On the other hand, cities across Europe are buying back municipal water supplies from global corporations. Around the world, there is a growing movement to legislate safe water as a basic human right. Now, on the global mosaic. Zulekha Syed is a filmmaker from Mumbai who's produced videos about water issues since she was a teenager.
बच्चे बीमार हो जाते हैं जो पानी पी के, जो गटर का पानी आता है, बाहर का पानी आता है। ऐसा सबसे पहले रोड पानी तो कुछ भी नहीं है।
तो पानी कैसे लेते हो आप लोग?
पानी खरीद के लेते 20 रुपए का खरीदना पड़ता है।
अच्छा, लेकिन ये जो बीएमसी का आया है वो थोड़ा सस्ता
आता है, एक ही जगह लगाया है खाली। अभी 3 जगह लगाया है। तो पानी का है ना, कहीं पर भी पानी मिलता है। ऐसा है।
आम जनता को पानी देने की जिम्मेदारी यहाँ के मुंबई महानगर पालिका की है और ये जिम्मेदारी भारत के संविधान में से दी गई है।
तिप्पी साफ करता है वो खड्डे में, हम जाके पानी भरते हैं उधर। इतना गंदा पानी पीते हैं, कोई जानवर भी नहीं पीते थे। इतनी हालत होती है हमारे खराब पानी पीने का। वो
संयुक्त राष्ट्र संघ ने इस आवश्यकता को मानव अधिकार का हिस्सा बनाते हुए ये स्पष्ट किया था कि व्यक्तिगत तथा घरेलू इस्तेमाल के लिए साफ, सुरक्षित और पर्याप्त रूप में आसानी से उपलब्ध कराया गया पानी हर एक इंसान का मानव अधिकार है। लेकिन गए 15 सालों से राहुल नगर के लोगों को आसानी से पानी नहीं मिल रहा है। The counselor was not responding me, so I was keep pressurizing her, and once I show her video, finally she responded me and she became my good friend. So I got her in community and interacted with the people. Because she also never saw that kind of problem.
Paul Brown is a photojournalist who directs a nonprofit focused on water and environmental issues throughout West Virginia.
From the air, it's all very clear. Like, oh wow, look, you can see this operation. You could even see it draining into this community. Mountains for us are living, breathing entities. This photography, this storytelling has taken me all over the world. It was an amazing thing, but what was even more amazing was to wake up one morning and realize that one of the biggest human rights stories of my life was happening right in my own backyard, in my own state of West Virginia.
Looking for successful strategies to secure water rights, Paul reached out to Zulekha in Mumbai.
Namaste, I'm from India, Zulekha.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, how about you?
Very good, thank you. I was just very inspired when I saw the work that you had done and the community organizing and the way you got all these people together. So what got you started? What got you concerned about water? You've done some amazing things.
When I was very little, I don't remember how old I was. There was no water at my place, so my mom was struggling with water. I was going with her and people was behaving very rude, not giving her water. The people who was have lot of water and they were washing their floors, so the wasting water she was filling and getting home to use other stuff. So I faced the water problem a lot in my life and I know how my mother struggled.
I'm so sorry.
What is the water problem in your country?
Where I live, the water has been terribly polluted by industry, by fracking and by coal mining in particular. So lots and lots of chemicals and heavy metal poisonings, things like that. It makes me happy being here. I love to walk through the forest and just put my hands out and touch the trees and touch the leaves. Living off the grid is wonderful. I wanted to inspire people that it is possible.
Use it to power the studio.
Generations of people came to this state and looked around and said, wow, look what's here. Coal, timber, natural gas. And if all that wasn't enough, hard-working people to do the dirty work. Sure, coal has provided jobs. I mean, they always talk about the lavish feast that's been on our table as a result of the money from coal, but it's always a smokescreen to detract from the fact that they've poisoned the vessel that we drink from.
A chemical spill in Kanawha County has people wondering what's in the air and what could be in your water. And right now, we are staying on top of this water crisis that is affecting up to 300,000 people in West Virginia.
Do not drink it, do not cook with it, do not wash clothes in it, do not take a bath in it.
This is my water from this morning. Oh my daughter and I are having nightmares over this.
When is that water going to come back online? I'm just going to be brutally honest with you. We don't know.
We've become a sacrifice zone. We're dying here. We're being poisoned to death by our own industries that employ us. And the message is not getting out to the rest of the nation.
Here in West Virginia, my own party is a part of multinationals coming in, blowing the tops off mountains, fracking, and destroying the groundwater for greed.
The corporate boys' quest for energy sources is coming to a point where it means extracting stuff from places where they haven't been before. And now those harms are coming face to face with the communities that are trying to stop them. One of the big issues today is hydrofracking for natural gas. They drill underground and then they horizontally drill across.
Tanker trucks haul in 2 to 10 million gallons of water per well, then mix it with a proprietary cocktail of over 500 chemicals. They inject that mixture at high pressure through the pipe to create fractures in the rock, which then releases the gas for extraction. This can lead to contaminated private wells and public aquifers. In Appalachia, the Marcellus Shale contains radon that gets released when the rock is fracked.
So you have this sometimes radioactive water coming back up from the drill holes that's actually now dumped into ponds and dumped on roads and all kinds of places. Whether you're talking about mountaintop removal in West Virginia, whether you're talking about this frack water that's being pumped out of the holes by the natural gas corporations, you're talking about stuff that ruins the environment forever. You're talking about aquifers that are polluted, which you cannot fix.
They passed the Marcellus Horizontal Well Act, but before they did, the governor took out a lot of the protections that were there for surface owners, just took them right out. Because we're all write-offs, we're all collateral damage, and that's what it's all about. It's a giant flame, like a torch. Yeah. That's getting all the impurities out of the gas so that the gas runs nice and clean, so then they can go ahead and start hooking it up to the pipe.
When you see what is allowed by the EPA, it just scares you to death. You can't imagine all those things going up into our air.
Everybody will be exposed to this eventually, and if they're not, they're going to be exposed to the water. This water table covers the southeastern part of the United States. Eventually, somebody somewhere else is going to be drinking this water.
Well, let's go see Mr. McKinley, our favorite West Virginia scientist. The one whose 4-year engineering degree means he's smarter than 97% of the climate scientists in the entire planet. That is a brilliant man. Thank you, sir. Perfect.
Okay, but what group came up with this report?
I came up with this, but the reports have been published in numerous scientific journals. I mean, there's 24 reports. They're not one person.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Happy West Virginia Day. Yes, you too. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Great. This is how we've gotten to where we are. When corporations control the government and the government's watching out for the corporations rather than the citizenry.
So what were the challenges you faced?
The people in West Virginia, we don't control our water. You know, we don't own the water. The water is owned by corporations. And the water is supposed to be protected by the government, but it's not, because the government is there to serve the corporations. So these are the big challenges for us. It's about educating people that they should have the right to clean water, and that the government should protect that right, and that corporations should not be allowed to come in and destroy our water, take it away from us.
Water has been discovered by the private sector long before most of us understood the extent and the nature of the crisis in which we're now living. A number of corporations around the world started collecting the ways and thinking of the ways they were going to commodify the world's water, because those who control the world's water systems in the near future are going to be the most powerful among us. That's why I call water blue gold, both because it is precious to all of life and precious to all of us, but it has been discovered as the most important commodity to be bought and sold on the open market. In Bolivia, when they privatized water, they actually said, we're also going to charge you for the rain that falls on cisterns in your wells and your roof. I do not make that up, you couldn't.
This notion that it's only in the global south that these cutoffs are taking place. In Detroit, they have cut off the water services to close to 100,000 people because they can't pay, mostly African Americans, single mothers, elderly people. And they go out and they have buckets and they go to local parks and they turn the water on and they lug the water home, just like people in the global south do. You know, this notion that it's far away and could never happen here is not true. As we become more divided by rich and poor, as people find that more and more of their basic food and shelter is taking up all of their income, and you're going to start to see water prices rise.
What is at dispute now is whether water is a fundamental human right or a human need, and you may think that's semantic, but it's not. The World Bank says that it's a human need, and therefore it can be delivered by corporations. We say it's a fundamental human right, and you cannot buy and trade or give away a human right.
I don't think a corporation should have the right to own the water. I think it's a natural part of the earth, and it's not something that someone should have a right to profit from. What is yours? What is your biggest challenge there?
It's very difficult to buy. If we are earning per day, half of the money is going to buy only water.
Really, that much? It's very expensive. Yeah. And what about the organization that you made the video about?
Pani Hak Samiti means water right community.
What do they do?
They are doing like you. So they are going to community and educating people.
As of 2010, there were no water pipelines for 2 million people living in slums or other informal dwellings in Mumbai. So we filed a public interest litigation through Pani Hak Samiti's Right to Water campaign.
पूरा दिन हमारे पानी में जाता था, ना बच्चों पे ध्यान रहता था, ना घर के काम में, ना अपने खुद पे हम लोग ध्यान दे पाते थे। एक टाइम खाने के बिना रह सकते, पानी के बिना कोई नहीं जी सकता है।
In 2014, we got very promising ruling that water is a fundamental right and that the government-run Bombay Municipal Corporation is responsible to provide water to everyone.
हमको देने में फिर भी रोका जाता है कि पानी, जैसे कि ऐसा लगता है कि पानी वो लोग उनकी फैक्ट्री में बना के हमको दे रहे हैं।
2 years later, the government had done nothing. They delayed with many procedures, and then we realized that we need to do something. So we resorted to protest. People from neighborhoods queued up outside the municipality office to give water from their homes to all senior officials. They were given water samples to drink and see if they are fit enough for consumption, so that they would get a sense of awful quality and understand the struggle we face. One official dared to drink water, but other officials said that, okay, I'll take it to my home, keep it here, but nobody dares to drink that water. After this protest, there was a decision by municipal government to give water to everyone. But there was a hitch. They wouldn't give water to people living in some of the informal dwellings. Mumbai has ample of water, double than the required water supply, but it is not having a political will to supply water to all. Poorer people are paying 100 times more than the richer people in the city. For the drinking they are buying, but for the washing and every other domestic purpose they are using this yellow water, which is a groundwater from the dug well. And that yellow water is actually their whole skin disease and that kind of disease they are facing. In 2018, we started a new movement. Volunteers go to settlement and help everyone file online applications for water connections.
वो लोगों का पीछा नहीं छोड़ा, हमने पानी को दिलाने की हक किया, तो हमने काफ़ी लोगों का फॉर्म भरे।
5-5 जन का ग्रुप बनाए हैं, उनको कनेक्शन दिया गया है, तो हर घर में अभी नल है।
अभी पानी है, पानी भर के आराम से खाना भी ना पकाने का, जिसको जॉब पे जाने का जॉब पे जाए, नहीं तो घर पे रह के अपना आराम करते हैं। उससे फायदा हुआ, हम लोग का पैसा भी बच गया, टाइम भी बच गया, उसमें हम अपने बच्चों को, अपने आदमी को खुशहाल जिंदगी भी जिम्मा करें।
After filling form, so the government people coming into society and meeting them and that making connection of waters. So they are fighting for last 10 years. Now they are getting success. So in urban area, there is a lot of people are getting water in their home. So they don't have to struggle like my mom did.
That should feel good that you made that film and it's helping with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you know the expression high five? High five. When the water crisis hit, most of our legislators tucked tail and left town. One stood for us. Mike Minniepenny, will you come up and accept this, please?
The ones that deserve this order, every one of you. You're the voices that come down to Charleston and tell the legislature that you're not going to stand for this anymore.
The biggest part of my platform has always been to fight for clean water. Until we get rid of big money in politics, we're not going to change anything because they'll fund a campaign against somebody. I mean, the Coal Association put a lot of money in the last election to unseat me. Each of those mailers cost about $10,000 a piece.
Mike Minniepenny, bad for West Virginia. Mike Minniepenny is hurting West Virginia's job growth. And here's one of my favorites. Meet the West Virginia Extreme Team, Obama and Mike Minniepenny.
I'm sure that Mike Minniepenny was targeted because of his outspoken nature regarding the health and the well-being of all people of this state.
I've had death threats. I've had people chasing me down the road in pickup trucks, flashing their lights, honking their horns, wanting me to pull over. I was even offered from the Coal Association a free pass if I would withdraw all of the legislation that would hold them accountable for polluting our streams and rivers. And they said, you know, well, if you take this legislation off the table,
we'll make sure you'll never have to worry about getting reelected again.
We've got a mentality to allow industry to pollute for profit over protecting the health and well-being of our citizens and our environment.
When we talk about campaign spending, you don't have to be really, really intelligent to know. We need a limit. If I give you $1 million, everybody knows you're my girl or you're my boy.
Hi, Zulika.
Hi, Paul.
Good morning to you.
Good evening to you.
So much has changed in the world since we last spoke. It seems like a lifetime ago. This article that I read about says, how do you wash your hands to fend off coronavirus if water is scarce?
Many of the slum dwellers working as a laborer. So they are depending on to buy daily basis water. So if lockdown happens, income stopped. If the no income, then how could they buy the water? And Dabra Salami, our film character, was also facing the same challenges.
पानी की तकलीफ बहुत ज़्यादा है कि जिससे पानी नहीं मिलता है। हम लोग पानी को खरीद के लेके आते हैं। दो डब्बा पानी ही मिलता है और 2 डब्बे पानी में क्या करें, हम नहाएं कि हाथ धोएं कि पैर धोएं कि कपड़े धोएं, खाना बनाएं। हम भूखे प्यासे ही मर रहे हैं। हमारी कोई भी सुनने वाला नहीं है। हम ये बीमारी से तो नहीं मगर भूखमरी से हम लोग मर सकते हैं।
When the lockdown started, he struggled a lot because everything was shut down. So how could they get water? So Pani Haq Samiti took the action and appealed to the Chief Minister and Municipal Commissioner, and many media covered their story. So because of that, government got pressure and finally they got the benefit of COVID-19 and got the connection. His dream come true.
At least some good news from the COVID crisis.
Sometimes problem is a really very blessing to us.
Oh, wow. It's so inspiring to see what happens when people are committed. For years, people around the world have been demonstrating against the privatization of municipal water systems, and that's producing results, especially in Europe.
We're beginning to see quite a turnaround. Many municipalities around the world are taking back their public water services from private companies. It's happening so quickly in Europe, which is really interesting, and in France particularly, that there's a whole website on the remunicipalization of water services. So what I call for now is what I call a new water ethic, where we put water in the center of our lives and we ask ourselves for all policies and practices, be it energy, food production, you name it, economic policy, whatever, social policy, what's the impact on water? And if it's hurting water in a world running out of water, where the demand is going straight up and the supply is going straight down, you better reevaluate.
Protecting our water is the most important thing we can do. It trumps everything else.
We can't live without fresh water.
It must be clean. Our bodies depend on it being clean.
Clean water! Now!
We will not take this sitting down. We are going to organize and make certain that people's voices are heard. This is a wonderful opportunity for those of us who care about this country and about the state to unify in our resolve.
We need to find that balance where we can have jobs and a clean and healthy environment to live in.
Imagine what it would have been like if we hadn't been fighting. Imagine what it would have been like if they had just run rampant without any resistance. So have we been successful? Yes. Have we stopped them? Not by a long shot.
Love can move mountains, real love would keep them there. Your runoff runneth over and out my seam, but your runoff is not fit for me to drain. For some clean water, man, I'll lay my body down. For my coal-stained fathers, I will lay my body down. For all these nations, I will lay my body down. For my unborn children, I will lay my body down.
Funding for this program was provided by the Minerva Nolte Estate,